What are the catalysts we need to keep this gold rally going? Joining me now is Matthew Mark. He's the Director of U.S. Distribution for the World Gold Council. Matthew, good to have you on the show.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So the metal enjoying nice start to the week. It had a good week last week as well. What are the fundamentals you feel that are driving this rally here?
Yeah. Last week was just yet another great example of how investors of all kinds flock to gold in times of stress. And that's in stark contrast to how it's behaved over the last couple of quarters. And what we do with investors continually is educate them on both the near-term drivers and the long-term drivers of gold. So last week was a great example, as I say, about the near-term drivers. When there's momentum and uncertainty in the market, people look for that store of value. They look to add that ballast to their portfolios. They flock to gold, and we saw that last week.
So short-term reacting to the news, reacting to the correction we saw in U.S. equities, but long-term, to get a sustained rally here, what will it take?
Well, what we do is we educate investors on what those long-term drivers are, and it's interesting, short-term momentum type investing, we can point to about 40% annually in terms of demand. So when you look at all drivers of demand, between central banks buying gold as a store of value, as a reserve currency, investors investing in coins or bars or gold ETFs, that's only about 40% of the market. Where we see the long-term benefit is the other 60% of the market. Now, most investors would say, well, that's got to be jewelry, and that's true. Half of annual demand for gold globally is jewelry, but there's still 10% which is technology-driven. Even though it's one of the smaller slices, it is one of the fastest growing.
If we look at the investors, right, you have the die-hard gold bulls who, love gold no matter what, are sticking by it. Mm-hmm. But then you have the other half who are saying, I just can't, I've almost given up on the metal here.
Yeah.
What's it going to take for, obviously we need a rally, but do you think that we'll see investor sentiment shift now?
I think we will. And again, it gets to the fundamentals of where gold comes from and who uses it. So again, when investors come around, and this is where I think I have a role with the World Gold Council in talking to institutional investors and asset managers about the role of gold, it really is focusing on the long-term impact gold can have on an investment portfolio. So again, there are those that focus on the short term when there's uncertainty in the market. They rush to gold and they may rush out when the market starts to rally again. But as a ballast in your portfolio, gold deserves a place right next to stocks and bonds.
So from what I'm hearing from you, Matthew, it's a safe haven for you. It's a safe haven play, it's a hedge.
Mm-hmm. It is a safe haven and it is a hedge, but again, we're trying to educate the market on it being a long-held strategic asset.
And finally, I want to get your thoughts on ETF inflows, outflows. Mm-hmm. On the U.S. front, we saw outflows in September, but you're saying that's just in the U.S. What are we seeing globally?
Yeah, and another point as well is that flows can change very quickly. Just last week, as you talked about market uncertainty, tremendous flows into several U.S. listed gold ETFs. But we produce a monthly report on our website, gold.org, which shows global monthly ETF flows, gold ETF flows. And the real story for the year has been Europe. So while the U.S. has seen largely net outflows in gold ETFs, Europe has been a net buyer. So when you're looking at gold ETFs as a way to invest in gold, you really have to look at the whole picture and where the flows might be going.
Do you have any sense as to how Diwali might also contribute to gold demand?
Yeah,
it's about to start in India.
The fourth quarter, starting in October, is one of the most important for the Indian wedding season, as well as Asian investments. So we're expecting big things in the fourth quarter.
Matthew Mark, thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching. We'll have more for you on Kitco.com.